and welcome to my very first trumpet tutorial style video. This is in response to Nikolai's request for more information on stylistic interpretation in the different styles, so legit playing, Latin, jazz, swing, bebop, etc. And so what I thought I'd do is use this tune, Four Brothers, made famous by Woody Herman Band, to try and illustrate that. And the reason I've chosen this tune is because it's got lots of eighth notes in it, and it's usually the eighth notes where the biggest differences in interpretation come into play. So if we start with the orchestral style, the legit style playing, what we're looking for here is all those eighth notes to be even, so all the same length, and the articulation should also be very even. So we're looking for a note shape that's like this, really. It comes up, there's not much of a front to the note, and there's a nice clean end to the note as well. It shouldn't sound robotic, it should sound beautiful, but it should be very, very clean and no variation between the notes. So it might go something like this. So you can hear it's all very even, and that works. Obviously, that works in a legit setting. If you think about Latin, it works quite well with that as well. So Latin is also even quavers, even eighth notes. So if you put a beat behind it, like the thing with Latin music is the emphasis is sometimes on the beat, sometimes off. So that's so you can kind of give it so 1, 2, bop, 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 that sort of thing. And then stylistically, you might, from a Latin point of view, you might actually just play a little bit with the some of the accents and make some of these notes a little bit shorter. So it might be something like this. 1, 2. So you might be clipping some of those phrases and accenting here and there, depending on the particular piece and etc. 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 I think the biggest, so I mean that's usually fairly straightforward for most say classical players playing Latin music, for example. They pick that up fairly quickly. I think the biggest problem most players have, certainly if you haven't listened to much jazz or played much jazz, is playing the eighth note correctly for the style of music, the particular style of jazz, so we say, that you're playing as well, because there are variations between that. Now, the most common error I see with bands and musicians that aren't that experienced in it is that, because when you get the music written, it's written, there's nothing on the music to tell you how to play it, so you have to work out how to interpret it. So the eighth notes often get played as dotted eighth, 16th note, and that just sounds, in most situations, that sounds doesn't sound very good. I mean, it's what I call rumpty-tumpty music, like St. Louis Blues, the Glenn Miller tune. So if you try and play this tune with that kind of phrasing, it just doesn't really swing. But this is where a lot of players start. So they'll start with something like 2. And it just doesn't swing. I mean, even there, I'm actually fighting against myself and starting to play a bit more swing. So what often the thing with jazz playing and the thing to get with these eighth notes is that the emphasis in jazz is always on the offbeat. So if you think about your quarter note, your 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So 1, 2, 4. The emphasis is always on 2 and 4. Be-dum, dum, 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 like that. When you add in the eighth notes, it's So there's always that emphasis there. And for most swing music, a good place to start for most swing musicians and what gets taught, I think, most often is think of it as a triplet, so the group of triplet eighth notes, where the first note is actually 2 triplets length and the second one is 1 triplet length, and then you put a gentle accent on that. And that works quite well. So, I'll play that again with the more sort of triplety kind of feel, and hopefully you'll be able to hear the difference there. 1. And that works quite well. The thing is, though, when you get fast, so that works okay at slow to medium tempos. When you speed up, what you'll find is it's quite difficult to keep that bounce in the playing. And so what a lot of players do, and this is what I actually learned by listening to recordings and things, is actually we don't articulate every note, and that's a trap that I think a lot of people fall into. So when it goes more quickly, I use the yada type articulation, which means that you actually articulate that second note. You get the accent from the gentle articulation on that second note, or you can, for the purposes of this video, I'm actually accentuating that a little bit more, just so you can get the feel for it. But basically, what you do is you think yada 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 yada. I learned to play that just by watching videos, and well, it wasn't videos; it was listening to records when I was younger and playing along with them. More recently, I've actually studied that more formally by using Gerard Presence's book called Modern Approach to Trumpet Playing. I highly recommend if you haven't got that you do, because that really works through this particular kind of articulation, which means that you will be able to interpret fast jazz music as well as the sort of mid-tempo stuff. So if we use the yada into articulation, it goes something like this. And that starts to feel more kind of swing-like and smooth. You want a nice smooth. It just doesn't want to be too jumpy, and I think that's what a lot of people have problems with. They get into it gets kind of jumpy as they go faster. The other thing is, as you'll find with jazz music in general, is as you get more modern, if you like, and more bebop and more modern. Generally, the difference between the 2/8 notes in terms of their length gets less, so they become more even, and that allows you to get that speed up. So we can, if we make them more even and we go faster, more beboppy types of the tempo, it might feel something like this: 1, 2, 1, 2. And I fluffed a couple there, but you get the idea. So the thing is to keep that nice and even, and that allows you to get the speed. And I think that's what a lot of people struggle with when they're first trying to play jazz music. So hopefully that's been of some help to you guys, and especially you, Nikolai. And maybe if you've liked it, I might even try and do some more kind of these tutorial videos. Anyway, I hope that's been useful, and thank you very much for watching.